Joining us on our program this morning is Captain Peter McGovern, who is a man in charge of the Marine Channels Authority, which is based here in Brome Street in our great city of Geelong. Welcome to Good Morning Geelong, Peter.
Thank you, Graham. Nice to be here.
Now, a fascinating activity that goes on behind the old Port of Geelong Authority building. You might like to explain to our viewers, first of all, what the responsibility of the Marine Channels Authority is.
Thanks, Graham. The channel into Geelong is about 20 nautical miles long, and we see about 500, 550 ships every 12 months, which means there are something like 1,000 or 1,100 transits of the channel every year. We move about, this is the Royal We, of course, I'm not moving these quantities, but we move about 12 million tonnes of cargo in and out of the port. So Geelong's a pretty important port for Victoria, pretty important also in Australian terms. Some of the port's facilities are privatised, but the channels and the associated channel markers still belong to the state government. And our job as a state business entity is to make absolutely certain that the ships can get in and out of here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in all weathers except perhaps for the very, very worst weather, in absolute safety. We do that by making sure that we understand very, very clearly what the parameters of our channel are. We survey the channel with the latest hydrographic surveying equipment every 12 months. That's done for us by a man whose qualifications are approved by International Hydrographic Office in Europe. We also have tide and wind gauges and information on 3 beacons. We have one out at Point Richards, first beacon into the channel. We have another one around at Refinery Pier, which is essentially the end of the channel. And we have a 3rd beacon in the middle of the channel, which provides us with redundancy if either of the 2 fail. Why are they important? Well, we need to know the tide because some of the ships that come in here are deep draft and they are loading to the maximum, getting the maximum tons in they can because, of course, there's an economic advantage in that. We want to make sure that they can do that, but we also have to make sure it's done safely. We need to know what the tide is all of the time. It's not a big tide in Geelong, something like 80 to 100 centimetres only, but nevertheless, when I tell you that a typical big ship might be able to load as much as 120 or 140 tons per centimetre, you can see that if we can give them 5 extra centimetres, then that's a big addition to their cargo, a big addition to the revenue, a big addition to the economic efficiency of Geelong's port. As far as the wind is concerned, it's 2.5 to 3 hours trip for a big ship from Point Richards to Refinery. The wind can change quite a bit in that time. In fact, quite often it can be different just because it's just because of land effects. It's a long way out to Point Richards. It's very close in at Refinery. The pilot who's piloting the ship, one of the Port Phillip C pilots, he needs to know what the conditions are when he's berthing. He needs to know that if there's a 15-knot wind at Point Richards, it's not going to be 30 by the time he gets to Refinery Pier. He needs to know that because he has to arrange for tug support to berth the vessel, and he may well alter his approach to the refinery. To help him do that, on the biggest of the refinery berths, we have a laser control device, a docking aid as it's called, a big screen on the wharf, which shows the speed of approach of the ship, speed of approach at both ends, in fact. So if he's swinging, he can see how fast the bow's approaching, how fast the stern is approaching. This means that he can give instructions to the tugs to either pull him up if he's going too fast or push him on if the wind is holding him off.
Peter, one of the important elements of safety that we've been concentrating on, and I proudly wear, keep clear of big ships, because big ships make big waves. So we're not just talking about the big ships that use our bay, it's also the recreational fishermen, the yachtsmen that get out in the bay that also have to be aware of the channel requirements and making sure they keep clear of the big boys.
That's right, Graham. The the bay is available for everybody, and everybody would expect to be able to use the channels to get in and out of the bay. And on a fine summer's day, then Corio Bay is really quite a beautiful place to spend an afternoon fishing or just lazing around. One of the problems, though, is that because the channels are narrow, because the ships that use the port are quite large, the ships are not able to maneuver much in the channels. They can't get out of the channels because the water's much too shallow on each side. They can't slow down too much because their ability to steer depends upon them to keep moving through the water and the water moving across their rudder surface so that they can make turns. If you're in a small craft on a nice day, you might be sitting there, there's a breeze blowing, the water's lapping on the sides of the boat and making a noise, you may have a radio playing, you're fishing and you're not looking at anything in particular. Meanwhile, behind you, a ship is coming along the channel. Now, the best he can do, I'll repeat, that he can't get out of the channel and he can't slow down too much. The best he can do is to blow his whistle. If the wind is blowing away from you, then you might find it hard to hear. The wind blows the sound away quite readily. So what we're suggesting is that you just stay alert, just keep looking around, make sure that you're not caught unawares. The other thing to bear in mind is that the pilot on the ship, he may well be 60, 80 feet up in the air, and he may not be able to see you too clearly, especially if it's dusk or dawn, and perhaps there's the visibility's not quite so good, there's a bit of a haze. So just be aware, just keep clear of big ships and go home safely.
That's a very clear message. Keep clear of big ships, because big ships make big waves. And whether you're on a jet ski, you're on a yacht, no matter how big it is, or a powerboat, you keep your eyes open for the big boys in the Point Richards and the Hopeton Channel, because the amphitheatre of Corio Bay, as we know, is one of the greatest sailing and water-friendly activities around Australia, and we're very proud of it down here in Geelong. But safety is such a very important thing, so keep clear of big ships, because big ships make big waves. And we thank Captain Peter McGovern for his time this morning.
Thank you for allowing me to talk to you.